Sometimes I wish I was just happy watching a show. And I mean, not like laughing or just relatively enjoying something. I mean, just a perpetual state of happiness and bliss throughout my entire watch of it. The last time I can remember this happening is when I watched Pingu in the City. Everything about that show spoke to me on such an individual level, and the experience of watching it combined with the place I was in at the time, the weather that was around me too was also snow. So getting to watch Pingu in the City as it was snowing, which, for those of you who don't know, it's a show about penguins in the Arctic, and then getting to like curl up in a blanket because there was also no air conditioner at the time to pump heat into the place. So I had to just put blankets all over myself as I was watching the show. It buffered a lot because the internet I was on at the time was satellite internet due to how rural the house I was in was, but I didn't really care because I was willing to let it buffer for a while just so I could watch more episodes of the show because I just enjoyed it that much. And there was something about that experience of just trying to battle out the elements of, it being super cold outside and me just like enjoying the fact that it was kind of freezing. It's something so hard to explain in words, but in my mind, like, it makes perfect sense. Like, I love the snow, and so when I see the snow, I get happy. The show is snow themed. It's also really fun and good in like every way. So, like, combining that experience of just having this super comfy, warm feeling surrounding me while simultaneously having just been cold, was really weird and unique in a way because, like, the bed that I was laying in, I was laying near the window and I could see distinctly out the window if I just moved the curtain a little bit that it was snowing outside. And, like, something about the experience of getting under that blanket to become warm after, you know, a little while of being super, super cold that day was just really distinct in my mind. I don't know if it was because of the experience or if it was because I was just happy that day. Like, watching that show, I don't think it really induced the state of happiness. I think it was a show that I would have enjoyed a lot either way, but because I was in that state of happiness as I watched it, and because all of the environmental elements um, uh, around me were just lining up in the right way, it allowed for the experience to be way more special than I had intended. Like, I never thought watching that show was going to be a memory that I cherish for so long, but it turned out to be. Like, that day, if of just a few things were different, it probably would have been less memorable. But even if I couldn't recount all of the different things that were at play in that scenario, aesthetically or environmentally, whatever big dumb words you want to use, I can still remember the feeling. And it's a feeling that I kind of long for because I do watch a lot of anime here and then. And a lot of it, for me at least, is very boring or even in some cases rage inducing. And very rarely do I get a show that just makes me consistently happy. Now, I'm watching Zombieland Saga right now, and it's really good. Like, I'm enjoying the show as I watched it. A lot of the jokes are funny. It's my type of humor. But it doesn't give me that feeling of like supreme enjoyment. And it wasn't even because Pingu was like one of my favorite anime. No way am I gonna put that show on the level of like Bebop or K-On! Or Penguin's Memory because I like at least Penguin's Memory and Bebop for entirely different reasons. The reason why those two are in my favorites is because of the contemplative sort of emotions that they elicit from me. Pingu was just a very fun experience. It was just really, really good at being fun and making me happy. Like, I feel like it's kind of unfair to compare most anime to that experience because most anime is not going to be able to do that, and so you just have to appreciate it for what it is. Now, Zombieland Saga, it's a 7. I consider a 7 to be a very good score. It's more than I give most shows. Most shows I give 6s and 5s, you know? So, like, it's better than the majority of shows, but it's not Pingu. The last show that I really remember watching that like actually came close to Pingu on the enjoyment scale that I was feeling was Magical Girl Sight. Oof, I know, edgy, but it reached my sensibilities in a lot of ways, and like watching that show was very, very engrossing for me. Um, I enjoyed it aesthetically on many levels. I liked the way that the plot was set up because it was kind of similar to the way a lot of Western shows play out in their plot, which I'm a big fan of, like the Western storytelling style, but it was applied to this very Japanese aesthetic. And so it ended up kind of morphing two worlds that I really liked. And I do remember that experience being really good. I watched Kimono and Friends afterwards. I think it was either afterwards or before. That was a show that I enjoyed. There were episodes that stood out and that like were really fun to me, but ultimately like I gave that show like a 6 or a 7 because the experience on the whole wasn't great. Like there were some episodes I found boring. You know, there were some parts of the shows that were kind of a drag, but at the same time that was also kind of the point. The point was to lull you into a sort of non-contemplative state where you're just sort of watching these characters fuck around in a cute world. Now, I think the thing that upped the score for me was the ending, because the ending I found to be really emotional. After spending all this time with those characters, seeing how it ended, I felt a connection. I felt tears coming up when that show ended. It is really well done for what it's trying to do. But those boring moments, I don't forget about them. Like, there were parts in that show that were kind of hard to watch. I never had to put 2x speed on or anything. It's not like Kakegurui where every single moment is fucking boring. Like, oh my god. I hate Kakegurui so much. I don't know why I want to complete this show. Um, Other than just to have another show completed on my mouth, but fuck that show is bad. Like it oh my god, everything about it makes me irate, but it's also so boring that I can't get angry at it. Like it's rage inducing because of the boredom, but also at the same time it's so standard and run of the mill that you can't actually be angry at it. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but either way, it's a fucking terrible show. And I've been watching so many of these shows that are like that. And it's good to have something like Zombieland Saga where it's closer to what I like. You know, it's an enjoyable experience. Um, but it's not, it's not the really good one. It's not another favorite, and I don't consider Pingu a favorite. I consider it like a 9, but like, no, it's not the really engrossing experience. Um, I don't know. I watched Penguin's Memory like a week or two ago, and I consider that one of my favorite anime. That was like one of the best anime experiences I had in a while, but it was more of a contemplative one. Like the things that I valued in that movie were because of the main character and like my relation to the main character. I saw myself in him a lot. So it was a contemplative experience. It wasn't something that I was experiencing in the moment. It was something that I was thinking about. And sure, I did cry, 2 times over the duration of its runtime, but like it's one of those things where a lot of the enjoyment I got out of it was from thinking about it. With Pingu, I just sat down and fucking watched it, you know? I just experienced it. It was just something that, I felt good about while I was watching it. It's not to say I don't feel the same way about the other, but it's a different type of good. It's a kind where you're just fully experiencing it. You're not thinking about it to then experience something else, to then experience an emotion that's created by the thoughts that you're having, if that makes any sense. So, I don't know. I feel like if I just keep going through different shows, especially when I go back to the 80s, I'm gonna find something. I'm gonna find something that feels really good to watch. Because I remember when I watched Gunsmith Cats, oh my god, that was so cool. Oh my god, Gunsmith Cats. Like the animation in that show is fucking amazing. If I just find another OVA from the 80s or 90s with enough style like that, with great animation, I'll be fine. Um, I want to watch Yu Yu Hakusho because like even though Yu Yu Hakusho is very long, the animation, dude, like the cells from the 90s is just so good, you know? Um, and I mean, I do love a lot of digital artwork that comes out of anime. I think you can make some really enticing looking shows out of that, but like to me, it just doesn't compare to the stuff from the 80s. The stuff from the 80s just looks so much better. So, I don't know. It really depends. Like, I mean, K-on's one of my favorite shows. And K-on is one of those shows that, like, it was able to get something out of me without being something that was super like cyberpunk or, had a lot of violence in it or anything like that. Wasn't something that I really thought about. I mean, K-On! Is a complex show, but like it's also very fun and very good at, being fun. The characters, they feel like real people. So as a result of that, even though certain episodes are kind of boring and they kind of drag on, the show ends up being good because the show is just so good at making the characters feel real, within the context of their setting. And so like I don't know, there's so many different ways that an anime can be fun or can embody fun, and like there's so many different elements that can elicit fun in the viewer on the outside as well. Like, what mood are you in today? What material conditions are you under? Like, for example, with going back to Pingu, it was snowing outside. So it kind of made me more in the mood to watch something with a snowy aesthetic. I don't know. It really is weird to think about to me because I'll go on Mal and I'll see a show that looks like something I'm gonna enjoy, and then when I watch it, it turns out being something totally different. It turns out being something that, yeah, on an art style level looks good, but everything else just doesn't fit my taste, and it's very hard sometimes, to find that thing that embodies the feeling of fun. Fun is a perpetual feeling. It's not, something where your enjoyment. It's not like I'm enjoying Zombieland Saga. I'm sitting down and I'm taking it in, and it's like, yeah, that part's pretty good. Haha, funny joke. But it's not like the visceral, like real, continual feeling of fun. Like, yeah, this is great. But the funny thing about Pingu in the City is that like the way I'm describing this is like it would be like super exciting or bombastic, like yeah, so much fun going on at once, is that it kind of mends the two worlds of being comfy and mundane, but also having a world that's very fun. And like I think, the creative situations that the characters find themselves in, or just the creativity of the world lends itself to that, where like the characters will just be fucking around in their world, and because the characters have so much personality, because the world has so much personality, they'll find a creative way to make that situation fun. And I don't know, there's just so many different ways that to quote Mother's Basement, there's so many ways anime can draw us in. Oh god, I remember when that quote was a meme. Oh god, 2016, dude. It's been so long. It's 2019 now. That quote's gonna be 3 years old. Fuck.